Have you ever picked up a simple pen and accidentally uncovered a secret that changed your entire life? What if the person you trusted most was hiding something so terrible that it could destroy your family forever? And what if the daughter everyone believed was gone, was actually much closer than anyone imagined? This is a story about betrayal, secrets, and a truth that was hidden in the dark. Welcome to Betrayal Revenge Stories. The rain had been falling over Seattle since early morning. I drove through it anyway. The windshield wipers moved back and forth, but they couldn't clear the heavy feeling inside my chest. I needed to see my wife, Vanessa. I needed to talk to someone. Anything was better than sitting alone with my thoughts. For 6 months and 3 days my daughter had been missing. Every morning I woke up hoping for a miracle. Every night I went to bed with the same pain. Nobody could tell me what happened to Natalie. Nobody knew where she was. And the not knowing was destroying me. Soon I arrived at Columbia Center. The giant building disappeared into the gray sky above. My company, Pierce Development Corporation, had been on the 28th floor for 18 years. I built that company with my late wife, Jennifer. We worked for years to make it successful. Now every hallway reminded me of things I had lost. I stepped into the elevator and rode up. When the doors opened, I walked into the reception area. Amanda Clark sat behind the front desk. She smiled, but her smile faded when she saw me. Everyone looked at me that way these days. Like they were afraid I might break apart at any moment. "Mr. Pierce," she said softly, "I wasn't expecting you today. Is Vanessa here?" I asked. "She's meeting with a client. It should be about 20 more minutes." I nodded. "No problem. I'll wait in her office." Amanda offered to tell Vanessa I was there. I told her not to. I had a key to Vanessa's office. After we got married, she had placed it in my hand. "You're always welcome in my space," she had said. Back then it felt like love. Now I wasn't so sure. I unlocked the office door and stepped inside. The room felt warm and comfortable. Large windows overlooked the city. Soft artwork covered the walls. Everything looked peaceful. I sat in one of the chairs facing her desk and closed my eyes for a moment. The room smelled like her perfume. For a few seconds I tried to forget my pain. Then I opened my eyes. And everything changed. A pen lay on her desk. A gold pen. My heart suddenly raced. I leaned forward. No, it couldn't be. I picked it up. My fingers trembled. There, engraved in small letters, were 2 words. Natalie P. The air left my lungs. I knew this pen. 4 years earlier, Jennifer and I had bought it for Natalie's 18th birthday. It was special. Custom made. Expensive. Natalie loved it. She carried it everywhere. She once laughed and said, "This pen makes me feel like a real adult." And now it was sitting on my wife's desk. My daughter had been missing for 6 months. So why was her pen here? I stared at it. My mind searched for answers. Maybe Natalie visited Vanessa before she disappeared. Maybe she forgot it. Maybe. No, that didn't make sense. Natalie and Vanessa were never close. They were polite to each other. Nothing more. The pen felt strange in my hand. Heavier than I remembered. I frowned. Then I pulled gently on the top. Click. A mechanical sound echoed through the office. I froze. A second later, the large bookshelf behind Vanessa's desk began to move. My eyes widened. The entire wall slowly slid sideways. Behind it was darkness. And a staircase. I stood there, unable to move. A hidden staircase. In my wife's office. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I should have called security. I should have left. Instead I stepped forward. Then another step. And another. The darkness swallowed me. The air grew colder as I walked down. The walls were concrete. The stairs seemed endless. At the bottom, a weak light glowed from above. I looked around. A small room. Soundproof walls. A bed. A tiny refrigerator. A table. A camera blinking red in the corner. My stomach twisted. This wasn't storage. This was a prison. Then I noticed someone lying on the bed. A person curled beneath a blanket. Dark hair. Thin shoulders. A small hand resting near her face. My heart stopped. "Natalie?" My voice cracked. The figure moved. Slowly. She turned over. Our eyes met. For one terrible second she just stared. Like she couldn't believe I was real. "Natalie," I whispered again. Then I rushed toward her. She sat up. Her face was pale. Far too thin. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. But it was her. My daughter. Alive. Dad. The word barely escaped her lips. Then she broke. She threw herself into my arms and started crying. Huge, painful sobs shook her body. I held her tightly. Tears ran down my own face. For 6 months I had imagined this moment. I had prayed for it, begged for it, and now she was here. "You're really here?" she cried. "I'm here," I whispered. "I've got you." She clung to me. Neither of us wanted to let go. After a long moment, I pulled back enough to look at her. The sight broke my heart. She looked weak, fragile, like someone who had survived a nightmare. "How did you find me?" she asked. "Your pen," I said. The pen was on Vanessa's desk. The moment I said Vanessa's name, something changed in Natalie's face. Pain, fear, anger, all at once. "She kept it," Natalie whispered. Like a trophy. A chill ran through me. "Natalie, what happened?" Her hands began shaking. 6 months ago Vanessa asked me to meet her here. I listened carefully. She said she wanted us to talk. She wanted us to become closer. Natalie laughed bitterly. I actually believed her. My chest tightened. She gave me wine. We talked for a few minutes. Then I started feeling dizzy. Natalie swallowed hard. The next thing I remember, I woke up here. The room suddenly felt smaller, harder to breathe in. "She drugged you?" Natalie nodded. Tears filled her eyes again. "She told me nobody would ever find me." My hands curled into fists. "She said eventually everyone would stop looking." I felt sick. Vanessa. My wife. The woman who comforted me while I cried. The woman who held my hand during sleepless nights. The woman who promised we would find Natalie. She knew where Natalie was the entire time. "How long?" I asked quietly. Natalie looked down. 6 months. The words hit me like a punch. 6 months. While I searched. While I suffered. While I slowly fell apart. Vanessa knew. "She came down every week," Natalie continued. "She brought food." Natalie's voice broke. She said one day nobody would care anymore. I wrapped my arms around her again. "I'm so sorry." "You didn't know," she whispered. "But I should have known." That thought stabbed me deep inside. I had brought Vanessa into our lives. I had trusted her. And Natalie paid the price. "We're leaving," I said firmly. "Right now." Natalie looked frightened. "She'll know." "I don't care." I helped her stand. Her legs shook. She was so weak. Slowly we started climbing the stairs. Each step felt like forever. When we finally reached the top, I heard something outside the office. Footsteps. High heels. Coming closer. My blood turned cold. "Vanessa." Natalie looked at me in panic. I quickly pulled her toward a service corridor hidden behind another door. We slipped inside just as voices echoed outside. The narrow hallway smelled old and dusty. We hurried forward. At the end waited a freight elevator. I pressed the button. The elevator groaned as it moved. Every second felt dangerous. When the doors finally opened into the parking garage, I nearly collapsed with relief. We hurried to my car. I helped Natalie into the back seat and covered her with my coat. "Stay down," I whispered. She nodded. I started the engine and drove away. Only after several blocks did I breathe again. Rain covered the streets. Traffic moved normally. Nobody knew what had just happened. Nobody knew my missing daughter was alive. I drove straight to the home of our family lawyer, Harold Peterson, a man I trusted completely. When he opened the door and saw Natalie, his face turned white. "My God." His wife Linda rushed forward. Together they helped Natalie inside. She sat on their couch wrapped in a blanket, looking exhausted, looking safe. For the first time in 6 months, Harold listened as I told him everything. The pen, the hidden room, the camera, the prison beneath Vanessa's office. When I finished, he sat silently for several moments. Finally he spoke. "This is kidnapping." I nodded. "I know. We need to call the police." "Not yet." Harold stared at me. "If we call immediately, Vanessa will destroy everything. The room, the camera, the evidence. It could all disappear." Natalie suddenly spoke. "There's something else." We all looked at her. Fear filled her eyes. It wasn't only Vanessa. A heavy silence settled over the room. Uncle Stephen helped her. My heart stopped. Stephen Barrett. My business partner. My friend. A man I had known for 18 years. "No." Natalie nodded. I heard them talking. She explained how she listened through the camera. How Stephen and Vanessa discussed plans while they believed she was asleep. Harold looked as shocked as I felt. The betrayal cut deep. Stephen had stood beside me through some of the hardest moments of my life. Now Natalie was telling me he helped destroy it. Harold eventually handed me a business card. "Call her." I looked down. "Sharon Mitchell. Private investigator." Former FBI agent. If anyone can uncover the truth, Harold said, it's Sharon. That evening I met Sharon in a small cafe near Pike Place Market. She listened carefully. She asked questions. A lot of questions. Questions I wasn't expecting. When did you marry Vanessa? 4 years ago. When did you meet her? At a fundraiser. What do you know about her family? I opened my mouth, then stopped. The answer shocked me. Almost nothing. Sharon kept asking. Did I know her old friends? No. Did I know where she grew up? Not really. Did I know former coworkers? No. With every answer I felt worse. Finally Sharon leaned forward. Mr. Pierce, I don't think you know very much about your wife. The words hit hard. Because they were true. I thought I knew Vanessa. I loved Vanessa. I married Vanessa. Yet sitting there, I realized most of her life was a mystery. Sharon made a plan. Natalie would stay hidden. I would act normal. And Sharon would investigate. Then she opened her laptop. Tell me, she said. What was the name of Vanessa's company? Sterling and Associates. Her fingers moved across the keyboard. A website appeared. Beautiful photos. Professional designs. Luxury projects. At first glance, everything looked real. Then Sharon clicked a few links. And everything started falling apart. The company had no real office. The customer reviews were fake. Many photos came from stock image websites. The business existed only on paper. Only online. Not in real life. I stared at the screen. Cold fear spread through my chest. Mr. Pierce, Sharon said quietly. I don't believe Sterling and Associates is a real company. The cafe suddenly felt silent. Too silent. I looked at the smiling photo of my wife on the website. And for the first time, a terrifying question entered my mind. If her company was fake, then who was Vanessa really? And what else had she been lying about? I left the cafe that night feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. The woman waiting for me at home might not even be the person she claimed to be. And somehow, that was even more frightening than finding Natalie in that hidden room. When I arrived home, Vanessa greeted me with a smile. A warm smile. A loving smile. The same smile that had fooled me for years. How was your evening? She asked. Busy, I replied. She kissed my cheek. I forced myself not to pull away. I had to keep pretending. For Natalie. For the truth. For justice. The next morning something strange happened. Vanessa brought me coffee like she always did. She sat beside me and watched me drink. At least she thought she did. The moment she left the room, I poured the coffee into a thermos and hid it. Later that day, I noticed something. My thoughts felt clearer. Sharper. For months I had been forgetting things. Names. Appointments. Important details. I blamed stress. Grief. Lack of sleep. But now I wasn't so sure. Then I remembered the vitamins. Every morning Vanessa gave me a small white pill. She claimed it helped with energy. I had never questioned it. Now I wrapped one in tissue and slipped it into my pocket. That night Vanessa sat beside me on the couch. I've been worried about your memory, she said softly. You should visit Dr. Mitchell again. My stomach tightened. Dr. Mitchell. The doctor she introduced me to. The man who diagnosed me with memory problems. The man who prescribed medication. After Vanessa went upstairs, I searched for him online. Nothing. No medical records. No clinic. No professional listing. Nothing. My hands shook. I called Sharon immediately. I think my wife has been drugging me. Silence filled the line. Then Sharon spoke. Bring me the coffee and the pill. The next morning she sent both to a lab. 2 days later she called. Her voice sounded serious. Jonathan, come see me. I drove straight to her office. The moment I walked inside, I knew something was wrong. Files covered her desk. Photos. Reports. Evidence. Sharon looked exhausted. The test results came back. She pushed papers toward me. The coffee contained powerful drugs. My heart sank. What kind? Drugs that cause confusion. Memory problems. Disorientation. I stared at her. The pills? Sleep medication mixed with other substances. The room spun. She was poisoning me? Sharon nodded. Yes. I sat in stunned silence. Then Sharon opened another file. What I'm about to show you is worse. She turned her laptop around. A driver's license photo appeared. A younger woman. Different hair. Different name. But the same face. Vanessa. Her real name was Victoria Brooks. I couldn't breathe. Sharon continued. Years ago she married a wealthy man in Nevada. She pointed to another file. He died suddenly. Then another. She moved to another state. Used a different name. Married another wealthy man. I already knew what was coming. He died too. My stomach twisted. How many? At least 2 husbands before you. The words echoed in my head. At least 2. Police suspected something, Sharon continued. But they never had enough evidence. She looked directly at me. Jonathan, your wife is a professional predator. I stared at the photos. 2 smiling men. 2 dead men. Men who probably trusted her just like I had. Loved her just like I had. And lost everything. Just like I almost did. Then Sharon showed me something else. A bank transfer. $50,000. Sent from Stephen's account. To Vanessa. My chest tightened. Stephen wasn't just helping her. He was paying her. The betrayal felt endless. Every answer created 10 more questions. What? Why would Stephen do this? What did he gain? What had I done? That night I searched through old company records. Old projects. Old blueprints. Old emails. And eventually I found something I had forgotten. Or maybe something I never wanted to remember. 15 years earlier, Stephen created an incredible building design. Brilliant. Creative. Innovative. He showed it to me. Trusted me. Believed in me. And I took it. I improved parts of it. Changed details. Then presented it as my own. His name disappeared. Mine remained. The project made my career. The project made my company famous. And Stephen never forgot. Then I found an old email. Someday you'll understand what you took from me. My hands trembled. For the first time I understood. Later that night I called Harold. I asked a question I never expected to ask. Did Stephen love Jennifer? A long silence followed. Then Harold answered. Yes. The world stopped. Stephen proposed to Jennifer before she met me. She said no. Then she fell in love with me. Married me. Built a life with me. Everything Stephen wanted became mine. The company. The success. The woman he loved. Now the pieces finally fit together. This wasn't just greed. This wasn't just money. This was revenge. 15 years of revenge. A revenge so powerful that Stephen joined forces with a dangerous woman to destroy me. A few days later Sharon called again. Her voice sounded even more urgent. It's worse than we thought. I met her at a diner. She slid a document across the table. I stared at it. My name sat at the top. Patient name, Jonathan Pierce. Facility, Emerald Heights Memory Care. My stomach dropped. What is this? Sharon leaned forward. A private memory care facility. A locked facility. For Alzheimer's patients. I looked at the reservation date. 3 months earlier. My chest tightened. They had already planned everything. The drugs. The fake doctor. The memory problems. Everything. They wanted the court to believe you had Alzheimer's. Sharon explained. Then Vanessa would become your legal guardian. I felt sick. She could control your money. Your company. Your assets. Everything. Then Sharon showed me a forged insurance policy. $10 million. My signature sat at the bottom. But I had never signed it. The plan became painfully clear. Natalie disappears. I lose my mind. Vanessa gains control. I get locked away. Eventually I die. And she inherits everything. Including $62 million. I sat there unable to speak. How could one person be this evil? Then Sharon showed me text messages. Messages between Vanessa and Stephen. Cold. Heartless. Clinical. They discussed my life the way people discuss business projects. No emotion. No guilt. No shame. Just plans. Numbers. Deadlines. That was the moment Sharon said something important. We need the FBI. A few days later we sat inside a federal office. Special Agent Michelle Barnes listened carefully. Then she opened a file. Photos covered the table. Different names. Different identities. Same woman. Same face. Vanessa. Agent Barnes nodded. We've been watching her for 18 months. They suspected her involvement in previous deaths. But never had enough proof. Now they did. Because Natalie survived. Because I survived. For the first time Vanessa had made a mistake. And that mistake would destroy her. The FBI created a plan. A dangerous plan. I had to pretend my mind was getting worse. I had to act confused. Forgetful. Lost. I had to convince Vanessa she was winning. Every conversation would be secretly recorded. Every lie. Every confession. Every mistake. For weeks I performed. I called Vanessa by Jennifer's name. I forgot where I parked. I repeated questions. I acted weak. Confused. Broken. And Vanessa believed it. Sometimes I caught her smiling when she thought I wasn't looking. A small smile. A satisfied smile. The smile of someone watching a plan succeed. Eventually the fake doctor arrived. He examined me, asked questions, pretended to be concerned. Then he told Vanessa exactly what she wanted to hear. His condition is getting worse. Vanessa lowered her head, pretending to be sad. Inside, I knew she was celebrating. The date was set. November 29th. The day I would supposedly enter Emerald Heights. The day they planned to finish destroying me. That morning Vanessa helped me into my coat. Her voice sounded gentle. Just one stop before the facility. I nodded, pretending confusion. We drove to my office. The recording pen rested inside my shirt pocket. Every word would be captured. Every lie. Every confession. Inside the conference room sat Stephen, the fake doctor, Harold, a shareholder named Vincent, and Vanessa. Documents covered the table. Stephen smiled. Just a few papers. I pretended not to understand. The documents transferred control of my company to Stephen. Everything was ready. Everything was planned. Then something unexpected happened. Vincent spoke up. His voice sounded nervous. Stephen offered to buy my company's shares. The room grew quiet. Stephen looked annoyed. Vincent continued. If he controls your shares too, he'll control the entire company. Tension filled the room. But I kept acting confused. Weak. Lost. Eventually I signed the papers. Stephen relaxed immediately. Relief flooded his face. He thought he had won. Then Vanessa reached for his hand. Not casually. Not professionally. Intimately. Their fingers intertwined. And suddenly they stopped pretending. He'll be in Emerald Heights soon, Vanessa said. Stephen smiled. Then we moved the money. My stomach turned. They believed I couldn't understand. So they spoke freely. Stephen looked around the room. All of this should have been mine. His voice shook with old bitterness. You took my work. You took Jennifer. You took my future. 15 years of anger poured out of him. Finally. The truth. The confession. The evidence. Everything the FBI needed. But then something happened neither of them expected. They began arguing. Right in front of everyone. Stephen wanted his share of the money. Vanessa laughed. Coldly. Cruelly. You already got what you wanted. Stephen's expression darkened. You promised 50%. Vanessa smiled. Did I? The room became silent. Then Stephen said something shocking. You told me Natalie would be safe. My heart skipped. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. You said she was staying somewhere comfortable. The horror on Stephen's face looked real. For the first time I realized something. Stephen knew about the fraud. The poisoning. The revenge. But he didn't know about the hidden prison. He didn't know Natalie had spent 6 months trapped underground. Even he looked sick. And that was enough. I stood up. No shaking. No confusion. No weakness. Just truth. The room froze. I removed the recording pen and placed it on the table. I heard everything. Vanessa's face turned white. Stephen stared at me. The conference room door burst open. FBI agents flooded inside. Special Agent Barnes led them. Her voice echoed through the room. Vanessa Sterling, you are under arrest. The agents moved immediately. Vanessa backed away. You have no proof. Barnes held up a tablet. 6 months of surveillance footage. Vanessa froze. Natalie's testimony. More fear entered her eyes. Recorded confessions. The fight left her instantly. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. The fake doctor was arrested next. Then Stephen. He looked broken. Defeated. Empty. As agents led him away, he looked at me. You took everything from me. His voice barely rose above a whisper. I looked at him calmly. No. You gave it away. Then Agent Barnes stepped aside. And someone entered the room. Natalie. My daughter walked through the doorway. Alive. Free. Strong. Vanessa stared at her in horror. Natalie stopped a few feet away. You told me nobody would care. Her voice remained steady. You told me Dad would forget me. Tears filled Vanessa's eyes. Not from guilt. From failure. For the first time in years she had lost. Completely. The agents led her away. And just like that, the nightmare ended. The months that followed were difficult. Court hearings. Investigations. Trials. Evidence. Testimony. The truth finally reached the light. Vanessa received multiple life sentences. The fake doctor went to prison. Stephen also faced serious charges for his role in the conspiracy. Justice arrived. Slowly. But it arrived. One evening months later, Natalie and I stood beside Jennifer's grave. The sun was setting. Everything felt peaceful. For the first time in a very long time. Natalie squeezed my hand. "We made it." I smiled. "Yes." The wind moved gently through the trees. I thought about mistakes, regret, forgiveness, the things we lose, and the things we fight to protect. I had made terrible mistakes. I hurt Stephen years ago. I ignored warning signs. I trusted the wrong person. But none of that gave anyone the right to destroy innocent lives. Natalie looked up at the sky. "I think Mom would be proud of us." My throat tightened. She would. We stood there quietly. Father and daughter. Still healing. Still carrying scars. But together. And that made all the difference. Because in the end, Vanessa's lies failed. Stephen's revenge failed. The greed failed. The manipulation failed. The darkness failed. What survived was family, truth, and love. The things they could never steal. And as we walked away from Jennifer's grave, I realized something important. Some betrayals can break your heart. Some secrets can destroy your world. But when the truth finally comes out, justice has a way of finding the people who thought they would never be caught. And this time, it did.